Hey guys, I am giving you this preface to this old video that I recorded back in 2017. It's an old shave, and I found it. I couldn't publish it for a while because it was upside down. I hope I figured out how to flip it over. And just for fun, I thought I'd put it up on the web, and if anybody watches it, then great. It's a reasonable shave. You know, it can still teach some good things. It's got some good info in it. Let me kind of tell you a little bit about it. This was back in October. It was on the 14th in 2017. Some of my techniques have been established at that point. I wasn't using a syringe at that time, and so there are some changes. I had a sample of Hallows. I think somebody sent me a little scrape envelope sample. I think we call them penny samples. And so I scraped it all together and put it in the bottom of a bowl. At that time, I was using a dog bowl because it was the same size. It was the right size for me to really get a good workout in. And of course, no dog had ever gotten it. I think I probably got it from the Dollar Tree. No dog had ever eaten in it, is what I'm saying. But also had an Omega 48 brush, the Pro 48, and I used Thayers Witch Hazel at the end of the shave. The razor was an Aristocrat from the UK, the number 16, and the blade inside was a Personna Platinum. I was using distilled water at the time, trying that out, and um, it's a 46-minute video. That part of the video, not including this preface, and that's pretty long. So hey, if you don't watch all of it, no big deal, or if you just kind of skim through it, enjoy what you want to. You can also use the fast forward features in YouTube, or the speed change features. Hit that gear icon under the video. You can change the playback speed to 1.25 or 1.5, if you want to do that. I did use a lot more soap than I needed to, and so I kept having to add more water at the end of the shave. I actually shaved with the Hallows pretty dry. What was funny is that I was so new to Barrister and Mann as a brand that I couldn't, in the video, remember what the name of the brand was that made Hallows. And now that's just ingrained in me, so it's kind of a funny thought. I kept smelling sandalwood in it, but I think my nose was wrong, or it was just interpreting some of the different ingredients in the Hallows as sandalwood. At the end, I actually bring in the list of notes for Hallows, and then I go over them a little bit. So, but during the video, I talk about how it's got to have sandalwood in it, right? Um, at the end of the video, I say, hey, let's see how this performance works if we keep on pushing the water into the soap and see what happens to the lather. And what I discovered was that, wow, I used way too much soap, and the lather just kept getting better and better and more prolific and more prolific. Lots of volume there. And at the end, I think I may have said that maybe this lather was a little too thin, but I don't really think so nowadays. I think I probably got it to a really good point by the end of the very, very end of the video. And so what I shaved with was probably a little bit dry, but it worked okay. I was talking about sheen and trying to look to see if the Hallows would create a sheen, and it never did. And so I think what I know now that I did not know then is that that's just soap specific. Some soaps give you a sheen on them, and some soaps don't. It doesn't mean good or bad, per soap brand. Let's see. I was adding water way too slowly, and so it took quite a while to work up the lather. Made a few more notes here to help you guys and get some perspective on it. I also didn't want to just push the video out because I didn't want you to think that a few of the techniques were ones that I now espouse. And let's see. Oh, yeah, I talked about Nivea Balm. I was getting to the last third or quarter of the bottle of Nivea Balm, and just for grins, I'll tell you now that I would get 119 uses out of that bottle. And so that is about how many. That's a normal Walmart size bottle, and I think 119 uses is pretty good for a $5 bottle of balm. And let's see. Oh, at the end, I also show you and hold up the 48 brush that I use from Omega, but I also show it with the Simogue 830 as a comparison because the 830 is kind of smallish and the 48 is a big brush. Now, I like the 48 okay. I did see at the time that it was a little bit on the scrubby side, and I didn't scrub myself a whole lot with it. Later on with the 48, I would decide that it wasn't really the brush for me because it's got such a long throw. The loft is huge on that brush that I just didn't really enjoy using it because of the amount of drag and lag it would have with it. Um, and so I never really got it to a soft state because I just kind of abandoned it. And that's it. So if you want, enjoy this throwback shave from 2017. Thanks. Hey there. The shave we have for you today is with my British Aristocrat number 16 and then a Personna Platinum Chrome blade. Nice solid shaves with this. Has a good grip on the blade. Feels secure, not a whole lot of noise to it. I like it. This large Omega brush, Omega 48. That's what it says on the handle. It's a Boar brush. And that will be attending to this little bit of soap, which is Hallows. Can't remember the maker right now. It's got to have some sandalwood in it, I think. I haven't read the write-up for it, but a lot of guys are going crazy for it right now, and I don't believe you can purchase it. I think it was a limited time offer, or maybe it'll be offered again next year. That's just, I like the sandalwood that's in there. There's got to be some woody, you know? I like it. All right. It was a sample sent to me in a sample exchange, and I was grateful to take part in that. Witch Hazel from Thayers, alcohol free, has aloe, and it's unscented. And I believe that is all you need to know before we start things up. So, this is a little less soap than I usually run with. One of my skills is not soap governance, learning exactly how much to use. I'm going to shake a lot of the water out of this Boar brush because I just don't know how much water this is going to take. I don't want to overwater such a good soap. It's amazing how this brush, how soft it gets after you soak it in water for several minutes. Before you do that, it's like a broom. It's so stiff. But Boars are just like that. Good. I'm not starting off with too much water here. The water. I'm using distilled water because my water is kind of hard. Okay, I'm going to bring in a little bit of water. A little bit at a time. Help me not to go overboard with it. I usually end up making too much lather anyway. So even though I think this is a little bit less, probably just right. In the comments, I'll put where the soap, the manufacturer of the soap, Hallows. I don't know if it's Barrister and Mann or L&L or who. we've got so far. Not tons of lather, but I have a feeling that this is going to accept a little bit more water. Just taking my time with it to make sure. Okay, there's a little bit of maybe floral or something in with what I'm guessing is sandalwood. Sandalwood's a little bit less prominent now, but maybe because I've been smelling it so much. I just finished smelling a bunch of samples that I have at my desk. My nose may be worn out. Yeah, this is getting more prolific. Yep. Let's add a bit more water. In the dry state, I really enjoyed this scent. Like I said, sandalwood was most of what I was able to discern. So, as you can see, it's getting bigger. So I know that I will have plenty when the time comes. Just a little bit of water at a time. One of the nice things, I flip back and forth from soap to soap. But one of the nice things, if you don't do that, is that you learn your soap much more quickly. And so you can know how much water to put in from the beginning and kind of accelerate more quickly to a good lather. Although I did read somewhere where even if you knew exactly how much water to put in your lather, there are some conditions or some soaps where your lather isn't as good if you start out with the exact right amount. It's better to build it up slowly. Take it for what it's worth. I don't know enough to know if that's true or not. This is just so thick. It's so funny how different fragrances are coming out of this. The grassy notes and a little bit of floral. Fortunately, it's not enough floral to bother me. I am one of those who does not like to, I like to smell flowers, but I don't like to smell like flowers. I also don't know how many times this Boar brush has been used. See, there we go. It's starting to, the magic starting to happen here. Still quite thick. Doesn't have too much of a sheen on it, so let's see how much water we can give it conservatively. Love the big handle on this Boar brush. Pull it down from the walls. Still pretty thick, but I'm about to the point where I'm ready to stop. I don't want it to get thin on me. Although I have had it happen where I stopped. Yeah, I believe where I've stopped and it wasn't hydrated quite enough, but it just disappeared on my skin. I don't know if it needed more water or if I had added too much. But that little tiny amount of soap that you could barely see in my bowl when I started, and there's still some left in the bowl. That's a good fragrance. But it's mainly, I mean, what I'm getting is a strong central dominant sandalwood note, and I really like that. But if this is hard for you to, if you're not able to get a hold of this, just get a hold of a good sandalwood. Pretty cool. Little sculpture work here. All right. Oh, now here is the little wax paper the guy sent it in. Yeah, and I get a stronger sandalwood scent from this than I do the lather. Must be because it's concentrated here and not in the lather. All right, I'm gonna get my face wet. Because I did not pre-shave anything, pre-shave treatment, and because I did not just get out of the shower, I'm going to spend more time scrubbing it on here to make sure that those hairs are properly cleaned of the oils. So you can start painting and then your face looks good for a shave, but you need to make sure you scrub at it for a little while. But I like how this just immediately started working with my skin. Sometimes it's not as thick, so I think I must have maybe gotten this guy right. The only thing I can think of is if it's a little on the dry side, but I didn't want to over water it. All right. Now the way that's behaving right now as I do this, I wonder if it's too dry. We'll see. Feels nice and thick, like a shell on my skin. All right. When I first used this razor, I used it with an average sharpness blade because I was testing a few different aristocrats against each other. And the average, the pretty sharp blade that I used was a Wilkinson sword. But this is a Personna, one of the few blades, when used in the right combination. A couple of razors that I have will cut my trouble spot area with no problem. Feather will do that as well. See, because I've got the little bit of kind of the white left, I'm thinking maybe it needs more water. When I rinse my face between shaves, I'll make sure to leave some water on my skin. You know, a good amount. Man, this thing holds the blade so solidly. It's not a mild razor. Maybe that's why it's so popular. can feel it cutting. I did almost feel a little irritation right there. I'm going to guess it's because the soap is, maybe needs some more water in it. It's not protecting like it should. I'm going to rinse off and be right back. Alright, so we are rinsed. Look at that. It looks very good, but that first pass, I don't think the lather performed very well. So I left some water more than usual on my skin between the pass. So hopefully they'll combine to hydrate the lather a little better. Of course I can, let me do my face like this, and then I can get a hollow right there to pour just a little water into. See if that helps thin down the mix. Definitely got plenty on my brush, so that's a good lesson. I almost thought I didn't have enough, but as you can see, I have plenty. Now, and you notice it is different. See right here, it's much thinner. Obviously, it'll thicken up once I start painting, but as I'm scrubbing, it's thinner than it was before because of the water. All right. Pass number 2. Cross grain pass. This guy is clearing fairly well. You know, the soap and the hair from underneath the edge of the blade. I got a little too close down here to maybe a area where I don't have any hair. Cause irritation if I'm not careful. So the feeling I'm getting so far is one where I feel like I could cause myself irritation with a misstep. That may be a good thing. That may mean that we're dealing with a very close shave. It's always a balance, right? Razor and blade are too mild, so you get a comfortable shave, but it's not as close as it could be. Other side, that blade is really getting to the hairs, and it's going right on the edge of the skin, and it's really sharp. It's cutting those hairs closely, but then it's going to give you sometimes a little bit more irritation. So it's always trying to find that middle ground. And of course, a middle ground for me, the perfect balance, might be different than somebody else. So it's tough to advise people sometimes. How are we doing? Okay. I'm going to rinse and inspect. Now that is very interesting. This blade has been used once before, so this is its second time. And so it should be, pretty good. But it left these hairs in a similar fashion as to other types of razors. So, wonder if the soap is working very well. I'm going to do some stretching this time of the skin, and this time we're going to come from the bottom up to do a cross grain pass, but that's an opposite cross grain pass. I can't do an against the grain pass because my skin is just doesn't like that very much at all. Skin does feel a little bit raw in the neck area. It would probably prefer if I had a badger brush or a boar brush that was more broken in. This one I think is fairly young. And because of that, I'm not going to do very much scrubbing. I'm going to do mostly painting. I don't even need to do my cheeks, but I figure I would because I've got the soap and the time. Hey, I've got a Fu Manchu, soap Manchu going on. Liking the scent. Still liking the scent. Very happy with it. Since my cheeks are pretty much done, I'm just going to do a with the grain pass, just to maybe clean up a few of the hairs that may be hanging out that I haven't gotten yet. Because I'm happy with the cheeks right now. Now we're going to switch. And come from the bottom. This is not against the grain for my beard right here. It is across the grain because my hair travels this direction. Let's see if this action can take care of those trouble spots. Yeah, I can still see some length to the hairs, so this razor doesn't look to be the right match for that kind of perfection, if you will. A little happy medium where everything, or now also, it could be my technique. It could be that I don't quite have the angles right for this guy. Need to maybe work on that. Maybe make sure that I get a good solid lather with protection and cushion and lubrication. So, you know, I'm definitely open to it being my fault. So, because I do have some irritation down here, let's rinse all this off. Also, let it be known that I only had a tiny beard to commit this with. It's possible with longer hairs it would have been a better shave, but I think I shaved at 10 a.m. this morning, and now I probably started this shave at 3:15 maybe. So I'm not going to do the math because it's 3:40 in the morning, but I felt like I had enough hair to shave. Definitely have a little bit of redness cropping up right there that wasn't there. I'm not going to try to chase down those hairs. So I think maybe, unless this particular blade is a dud from Personna, maybe this blade and this razor don't work well together for my skin type. But I might make a footnote. It could have been my lather. My lather could have needed a little bit more improvement. So what if we add a little bit of water to it right now? I'm not going to use it, obviously, and I've used about half of it on my face already. They say to keep adding water until you add too much, and then just remember where that point is for next time. But when you have a sample and it's kind of a one-shot deal, you don't have that luxury. Still lots of lather, so wow. Tremendous. It doesn't really have much of a sheen to it. So you know what? Let's experiment. I'm going to put this down for a moment. I'm going to do parts of my post ritual so that they can be happening while we experiment with the lather. Witch hazel. Don't breathe it in. Kind of irritates my lungs. Don't know if it's good for you or not. We will let that toner kind of soak in while we play science. I'm going to add a little bit more water. Just see what happens to this lather. It's, I think one of the indications is the sheen, how you can tell it is properly hydrated. If it's shiny. I don't know if that differs per shaving cream, per shaved soap, or if that's a universal. It sure doesn't look like it's too wet right now. Look at that. Is it shining? It's still kind of a matte finish. So let's just keep going, huh? Now that was a good bit of water, so let's just see how that works out. Definitely heard that there are some soaps, and they'll call them thirsty, and that's a good note that you will be adding more water than average. But I'm fine with that. I mean, hey. Yeah, I'm getting more. Holy cow, the lather generation here. Look at that. I'm going to put it next to my face for size comparison. If I'm always holding it up to you, you can't really see Oh, it's starting to get a little bit more of a sheen. Cool. I thought I added too much water a second ago. Gotta do some lather management with this guy, or he'll dump out. I just decided to add a good bit right there. I mean, let's just see what this will take, right? Such little soap is doing all this. And there's still a little bit in the thing. It's crazy. Just insane. I'm starting to get some more bubbles in there. At some point, right, the soap will start to turn frothy and thin. And I believe sometimes I have shaved with that kind of a soap and it's just, it looks good, but then it just thins out when it's on your face. Hey, let's do it. Let's keep going. This is taking a lot of water. It's a good smell. I like it. It's kind of woody with a few little extras to help out. Look at that. Holy cow. I had just no clue. I mean, look how big this is. And no, I'll squeeze it all into the bowl. That's just crazy. I'm beginning to think that where I didn't even think where I was doubtful I was going to get 3 passes with the amount of soap that I had. Probably could have divided it into 2. Gotten 2 good shaves with it. I mean, I've already shaved with it and it's having problems keeping it. And this is a huge bowl. This is a dog bowl. Put it next to my face for size comparison. And I've got a big head. Look at how huge that is. The bubbles are starting to come. So I wonder if it's getting lighter, you know. Maybe I will put some on my face. Just see how it acts, you know. See if it's too light or what. I'm going to add some more water to this. This is crazy. Okay, that was a lot of water. Surely that is too much water. Push the soap down to meet the other parts of the soap that may be more light. I wonder if you're supposed to kind of whip it fast and try to get some air into it. I bet not. Look at that. Look at this thing. And there's tons still left. Holy cow, people. I just added a ton of water. it's not a problem. After I'm done with all this, I'll pause the recording and go and look up the brand of this soap, just so we'll have it in the video as well as in the description and stuff. Okay, I have hooked almost all of the lather out of the bowl. And this is what's here after I have, okay, now look, it's starting to slide a little bit, so it is starting to get a little bit more watery. Now, how do we have a sheen? You know what? No, it's still kind of a matte finish. Yeah, see, look, it's sliding down my brush. Now, I believe that means, my guess would be that we should not add more water. Look at that. That's crazy. All right, let's take some of this. See if it's too light on my face or not. So in the future, should I keep going to this point or stop before I get to this point? Of course, no, dang it, I just put the witch hazel on there, but big deal. I haven't put my balm on yet, so that's fine. I'm going to lay it down a little thin here instead of my usual pretty thick. And we'll just, it's hard to lay it down thin because of all the lather I had on my brush. Really looking forward to seeing, excuse me, sorry, to watching these Boar brushes age. Get softer and splay out more and just hold tons of lather. It'd be neat to watch that happen. Yeah, see, I think it's too light. I took it too far, and that's okay, because that's what I was experimenting with. And so I guess what I learned, now I could cake on more, but I think what I learned, see my cheek right here, it's very thin and kind of dry looking. So I think what the takeaway here is that it can look like a good lather. I mean, it's voluminous, voluminous. I am interested to find other traits that maybe we can watch for to sense when it transfers from being creamy to being voluminous, because in terms of just the appearance, it's really hard to tell the difference. Maybe how the peaks form, you know, I'm not sure, because see, with this soap I never achieved a really good sheen like I have with some other soaps. Okay, so obviously for this soap you shouldn't hydrate it until you get the sheen, because you're going to end up with it being too thin. Maybe when you kind of play around with it, you can feel how much give it has. Maybe that's a good way to tell. Because this soap right now looks gorgeous in the bowl. Now, I did note, see the bubbles? Maybe that's a telltale sign, right? I'm gonna send this link to this video to maybe some people who might know. Just get their advice. So, because you don't want to shave with it. See, look, my cheek's getting even thinner as it dries out. So, it is possible to have a ton of gorgeous looking lather and have it be just a hair too dry. You gotta have the water to protect your skin. So I cleaned everything off, dried it off, applied some post-shave balm from Nivea, which I have really enjoyed. Where are we? Getting down here somewhere in it. I've kept a count, so once I get down a little farther, once I get down, I'll know how many uses approximately it gave me. So this is kind of how this brush looks. So floppy and thin when it's wet, but gonna work it out a little bit here to help it display out. And my understanding is that the boars, make sure they dry before between each use. So now it even displays out a little bit more as these guys, but they see the tips will split, and so it'll get softer and softer. It's already reasonably soft. And the number 16, I am glad that it roughed me up a little bit. I don't really see, you know, you might see a little bit of pinkness there, right around here. It's a little sensitive to the touch. A little bit of razor burn, but I'm sure that'll be gone in an hour or two. But I'm really glad to have a razor like this that isn't so mild that you don't feel anything. I've got a few mild razors. It's always good. I like having a broad spectrum because there's so many blades out there. You might find a blade that just works really well in this kind of mild, aggressive razor. Moderately aggressive is what I meant to say, that you like better because maybe it's smoother, and so you get the aggression in a close cut, but still a smooth shave. All right, so now I can put the Nivea away as I clean up here. I've got the witch hazel on, and you can leave the razor in your, the blade in your razor. The modern ones are not carbon steel anymore, which will rust. The modern ones are coated, like this one in platinum, and it's also chromed, both of which help with rust prevention. And so, but I change blades very often, and so I go ahead and tamp mine down on a towel. I don't wipe it at all. I just lay it down on a towel and kind of touch the top part a little bit in the center part, so that it just makes sure that the blade edges touch the towel and maybe pull some of that water away. And then I'll just kind of wipe out the inside of this guy. And I've already done my brush routine. I'm going to put that up in my whole brush basket. Oh, just to give you a little comparison. Here is a Samog 830. It's a great little brush. And here is the Omega 48. So it's a bit bigger. Now here, let's compare. This is where you can compare the knot sizes, and then here's where you can compare the total size. But they are very different brushes. At first I wondered if this was too big for me, because as you can see, I have hair here, and so I don't need a whole lot of splay to kind of go all over my face. You know, I kind of have a small little track to do. But I tell you what, where this one comes in handy is face lathering, because a lot of times, many times, when I'm bowl lathering, my fingers are all up in the lather with the shorter brush. Not quite the problem with this guy. So, a little comparison there. Omega 48, they're both Boar brushes, and then Samog 830. Wonderful, both wonderful in their own right, and both fairly, this is probably a little bit more mature than this one. I've used this one maybe 18 times. He's already starting to behave nicely, and at first he was really rough. That's just the way boars are. Just keep using them until they get nice. Which for me, for the 830, it was about use number 14, maybe, where all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, this feels pretty good on my face. It's able to stir up and hold the lather, enough lather to do the job. That's about where mine started to become very useful and functional. It probably will still take 2 months of uses before it gets to where it needs to be, but at least for now, very functional and enjoyable. So hopefully that was some information for you about the lather, about the razor and the blade. So hopefully it's helpful. Take care. I always hit the pause button because so often there's a footnote, and I remembered that I was going to tell you the manufacturer. You probably already know already, but it's Barrister and Mann. Barrister and Mann Hallows is the soap, and it's tremendous. I've got a couple of their soaps, and their base is terrific. So this is a great scent. I like it a lot. I wrote down some of the scent notes. They say there's vetiver, oak moss, pepper, cocoa, labdanum, I don't know what that is, and cedar. I think maybe the combination of vetiver, oak moss, and cedar were making me think about the sandalwood, maybe. I didn't really smell any cocoa in it, but pepper, oak moss, vetiver, oak moss, cedar probably is what I was getting. So that's a good one. I don't know when they're going to open it back up again, but if those sound like that sounds like what you like, then be on the lookout. Barrister and Mann.